removing the perspective that we used to have about vocational training in this country is probably the most important thing to do to save the US job.
We are building learning profiles of students and then letting that inform the pedagogy, not the other way around.
One size does not fit all. Everyone has a different life, different expectations, and different ways of learning.
We need to find career happiness to have a better life.
Welcome to Better Careers, Better Lives, a show that features leaders in education, technology, and the skilled trade industries, and how they are making an impact in their respective fields by providing pathways to better careers and better lives. I'm your host, Doug Donovan, founder and CEO of Interplay Learning. On today's show, my guest is Dr. Mark Lombardi, president of Maryville University and co-author of Pivot, a vision for the new university. Mark, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure.
So Maryville University, using your own words, rigorous, technology-driven, mentor-inspired education. So, I got to ask, one, do you eat at your own dining hall?
Sometimes I do, but I'm usually running around.
Yeah.
At those times of the day. But yeah, I do.
Yeah. Well, certainly the numbers speak for themselves for Maryville, right? Second fastest growing private institution in 2020. What are you doing? What are you doing differently?
Well, let me give you kind of a little context. Several years ago, he's now retired, but I had a guy who oversaw our whole IT division as well as other things. And, universities are constantly incrementally trying to improve this or that. And he came to me and he said, for $4.5 million, we can build one of the top 10% most connected campuses in America. And I said, let's do it. And we invested in that. And that was the platform that allowed us not just to provide much better service to students, not just to provide higher quality education in many ways, but also expand into the online platform, expand into other arenas. And let's face it, today for students, curb appeal is not how something looks, it's how fast their phone works when they get somewhere.
Right.
And that really drove a huge part of our growth. Not the only thing, but it turned out to be a very good investment, and we've maintained and augmented that network. And of course, during the pandemic, it became invaluable for us.
Yeah.
We were able to pivot fairly seamlessly. We had a few bumps into an online environment in 2020, now 2 years ago. Obviously, as we brought them back, we had all of that connectivity to help with hybrid education. So bottom line is, we've been able to invest in the key areas that matter most to today's student, and that's really driven the enrollment.
And what year was that when you really made the big investment?
It was really about 2014.
2014.
Yeah, and then then right after that, we moved significantly into the online education space.
God, some of that challenge around that is the institutional friction, right? You got a faculty that likes things a certain way, and how do you fight through that friction?
Well,
or are you still fighting it?
No, not really at all. It's that there was some friction, but here's what happened. We have a nationally ranked nursing program, outstanding nursing, high quality education. The nursing board pass rates are in the 90% and greater. So we said, let's go online with nursing. If we are able to do it and do it effectively, nobody else is going to say, if you can do online nursing, you can't do online philosophy. That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because nursing has an external evaluative factor to the quality of the education. And our nursing faculty embraced it. They were wonderful. And so we went into nursing first. We were highly successful. And that really eliminated 90%, 100% of the friction. And now, of course, during the pandemic, faculty come up to me and say, thank God we went into online education.
No kidding. Yeah.
We were able to do that. So, people think of universities in all the stasis and all the opposition and all the rest, and that exists in a lot of places. Mm-hmm. What we've been able to do at Maryville is essentially gather together groups of faculty and staff who are already in an innovative space, like one-to-one with iPads or what have you, or online, and knit those people together, and they become the Pied Pipers of what we're doing. And that's exactly what's happened with the growth in online. It's happened in a number of other initiatives we've taken.
What about, I would imagine, we often say, you have to be digital first to what we do to talk to the Gen Z and the younger. I don't know what's younger. I think Gen A. I think they're naming it Gen A.
They're going to run out of letters.
That's true. No, hey, we start over. We get to go again. So we got another 100 years, I guess. on the recruitment side and getting people looking, I would imagine you've gone very digital there as well.
Yes, very much so. Using various kinds of admission-oriented apps like ZMe, for example, and ones like that are very effective at developing community before students even get to you. So as they're going through the application process, you've got 10 students here and 5 there and 2 there spread out. They don't know each other that they're applying, but you use the social media to knit them together before they even get here. And so we've got, like, for our freshman class, first year class for next fall, we've already got a whole bunch of them that have decided they want to room with somebody based on the, and so you use the tools and you operate in the space that they're in.
Yeah.
You don't make assumptions, certainly not the way I was. I mean, I was recruited back in the dark ages. We don't want to, if you did it that way, we'd have no students.
Yeah. They matriculate, off you go, year one. Tell me a little bit, where does technology live in the classroom? Where is it, what's online, what's not? How does that all weave together?
I want to first state there is no endpoint to this. It's an ongoing evolution. So it's not as if, boy, we've cracked the code and we're set up perfectly, because we're evaluating it every number of weeks and months. But what we've done is we've taken a campus and created connectivity that is campus-wide, indoor, out. It doesn't matter where you are on that campus, you can connect and be engaged in a class, asynchronously, synchronously, etc. So what that does is it makes the entire campus essentially a learning classroom or a learning space. That's the first thing. I tell presidents all the time, you have to be a learning space all over campus. You can't have dead zones, you can't have all those things. Then what we've done is we've had a very, very effective, and this is a testimony to our faculty, professional development program. It's 2 weeks. It's a week in May after graduation and a week in August before we start. And we added 2 weeks to every faculty member's salary. So instead of saying, hey, come to this and we'll give you a bad sandwich and $25, we gave them 2 weeks full salary.
Just for technology training?
It's for a whole series of faculty development, but the focal point is technology training, whether it's using AR and VR in the classroom or other ways that we can utilize. For example, our iPad initiative, we feed out to our students 200 free learning apps that they get downloaded, and how to use those apps. So it's all kinds of strategies, and as a result, I think the latest number we have, 94% of our faculty are trained in just about all of these technologies. I wouldn't say
including VR, including AR.
Well, I wouldn't say they all use it at a high rate, but their knowledge and awareness of it and their ability to incorporate it is there. Now, as I said before, it's a constant process of evaluation. It's because you can never say, oh, we invested in this and we're done and we're fine. So it's a constant process, and we have students involved in it, students involved in telling us how they want to receive information.
Are you seeing, we get asked a lot about effectiveness, right? How's the technology? We use a lot of VR and simulation training, and we get asked a lot about, where's the proven effectiveness? Fortunately, there's a lot of studies in the trade space for its effectiveness. Do you get asked for that? Have you guys run your own control group studies? What does that all look like?
We do, but we start from this premise. The only measure of success of a university is student outcomes. Graduation rate, getting a job in their chosen field and career, and progression. That's the most important measure, not grades, not any of that, what I call kind of nonsense, old school stuff. But as we're going through, we're evaluating learning outcomes. For example, we piloted something in math this year, which I'm very excited about. Using AI, we took 2 different levels of math classes. The numbers escape me, but think of it as 101 and 201 or something.
Okay, good enough.
And we combine the classes and have them progressing week to week, and then AI evaluating their progression. So instead of students, everybody has to take 101 and everybody has to take 201 next. And what we've been finding in that data, and this is one example of many, is students are accelerating their learning and moving through. So they're going to get credit for 2 courses by just going through one. The other, though, is the students that struggle at various times, we're helping them understand exactly why and how they can progress. So far, the data on that is fantastic. So yeah, we're evaluating learning progress as we go, and surveying and using AI particularly to do that. But then we're also just laser focused on outcomes. So a 98% career placement rate, and then what happens in their careers as they move forward. That, to me, is really the only measure.
I'm excited to get into the careers and the connective tissue to employers, et cetera. I want to stay on the technology just a bit longer. You hit on a couple things there, I think, that are insightful. One is you can get a little more personalized. I mean, sometimes what's not accepted or appreciated is the computer knows exactly where someone's understanding is. That's tougher for a faculty member, right? Particularly when they have a large class. Are you using that at all, like to enhance that time, that faculty time?
We're using technology now, and again, I think we're almost there, not completely, to build learning profiles of students before they get here. Because everyone learns differently, everyone's brain operates differently, everyone can process information in different ways. We are building learning profiles of students and then letting that inform the pedagogy, not the other way around. Warehouse learning, one size fits all, that has proven to be, in my opinion, a disaster. And not only that, it's exclusionary, and it really hinders access and opportunity, which is something we're passionate about. So we're really pivoting, and we're moving from pedagogy centered on the faculty member to pedagogy centered on the learning style. Technology allows you to do that if when it's applied properly, and that's what we're doing, and we're excited about it. It's just we're seeing some really great results, and the real push now is to just make this university-wide.
I didn't understand that last point. What do you mean university-wide? Because this still exists just in certain programs?
Well, I'd say it this way. We're trying to create it so that particularly in the prescriptive programs. So in nursing,
certain things,
you can't skip around. You can't skip. You're required to go through these. So it's not impossible. It's just a little more difficult to make sure that people that are accelerating through don't get frustrated and bored. So certain, what I call the professional programs that have a prescriptive curriculum, you have to tinker and redesign and use it a little differently. But that's certainly an issue that can be overcome. It's not an absolute impediment.
Got it. So recognizing competency-based paths, but at the same time there are some you have to check the box. And
Exactly.
Well, let's stay on that, on the certificate programs or the professional programs. And I saw on some of your collateral you're advertising more certificate programs. Have you seen? And I've seen universities doing this more, right? Running the sort of classic, the classic operation, and then on the side more certificate programs, floating to the top. Tell me a little bit about what's happening.
Well, on the outside, it looks like we're offering more certificates, but what really is happening inside is we are in a process of modularizing our entire curriculum. So think of it this way: think of a university or programs not as a collection of courses. It's really a collection of modular content that can be stackable and movable. I'll take political science, my old discipline. I'm in political science, and I'm a political science major, and I take these courses, and that means if I pass them, I can graduate in political science. Well, really, it's not the courses. That should not be the unit of content management. The unit of content management is skill-based. I call them modules, you could call them components of knowledge and skill development, that if you put those together, regardless of what you want to call a major, you've got that, and you can take that and market yourself in that. That's what we're in the process of doing. It's so exciting, because when you modularize content, you allow for students, learners at all levels, right? Whether you're 18 or 35 or 55, right, to go in and go, I want that, and I want that, and I want that, and I'm going to put that together because my employer says this is, and that's where we're headed. And it's exciting because it empowers the learner to pick and choose.
Right.
Now, again, there's always going to be a prescriptive program that someone has to in order to become a nurse or a physical therapist. Right. Doctor, you have to do this. That's understood. That's the profession, and I don't want to lay on a gurney in a hospital and somebody right, not having gone through and gotten a good nursing degree and education. Neither would you. But everything else, the modularization is the wave of the future.
What about? Let's go even higher level, and the challenge now. You're certainly sort of fighting this trend is we're not seeing quite the enrollments. There's been plenty of people questioning the value of the degree now. I mean, popping people in for 4 or 5 years away from a workforce and coming back and thinking, now this person is suddenly prepared for the workforce. How are you wrestling with that?
Well, the business model of higher ed is mid-20th century, and it's broken, and it's not. We've gored the ox, right? I mean, we charged people ridiculous amounts. I think the figure is, since 1980, the cost of CPI has gone up 62%, and education is like 168% or something.
Yeah.
The business model's wrong. So as we revolutionize these elements we've been talking about at higher ed, the necessary or the natural element of that is going to be this. We're moving towards having higher ed be more like a subscription model. A model where, like your cell phone bill or your Netflix subscription, the things that you would never think of doing without, you can pay on a monthly rate and you can access the content, right?
Lifelong learning.
Online, on ground, whatever, however you want to do it, hybrid, you can access that. Now, we're not there yet.
Yeah, how close? I mean, that sounds amazing. That's what universities should look like.
I'll make a prediction for you. I think by 2025 we'll be there.
Yeah.
That's where we're going. Yeah, and I think the reason is because that's where most of us are living our lives in society today. I don't know about you. I got a cell phone in my pocket. I don't even know how many subscriptions I've got, but I know I don't want to give any of them up, right?
Yeah,
I sure as heck didn't want to give up Netflix.
Right.
Higher education should be affordable, and that opens it up to access and opportunity for millions who've been closed out of it.
Yeah.
Millions of people. And that's really the ultimate goal. But the way you open it up and lower the cost is you change this whole notion of delivery. The whole idea that it has to be 4 years and you have to take these courses in sequence. And that's what creates basically a scarcity model in higher ed and also an expense issue.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I imagine as you start envisioning that in 2025, the employers come in sooner, right? And they start participating sooner. And I know you guys have some innovative programs with local employers. And so let's talk about those programs, then perhaps talk more generally about how you see your role with employment.
Well, we started Maryville Works 2 years ago, locally in St. Louis in the area. We've already got 7 companies as part of it with over 2,800 customers. Now that's 2 years right out of the box. When I say customers, so how this works is we don't try to go in and sell to each individual employee, hey, it'd be great if you got a degree, great.
Right.
We go to the employer and we say, what skill sets does this group of employees need most?
Yeah.
If we have the expertise, our learning designers with faculty and others design, not degree seeking, nothing like, we design basically skill training programs.
Skill training that run in parallel to their employment, earn and learn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not the kind of thing where it's, hey, you got to come here on a Saturday morning and a Thursday night and all that old stuff. Online, right, or with a hybrid component. And here's the exciting part. The employers are designing it with us. We're not telling them what they need, they're telling us what they need.
Right.
And when they do that, often they say, hey, we want to, some of our people want to help deliver this content. Fine, that's no problem. We train them up to do that. What we're finding in these programs is groups of employees who need to skill up. The employer doesn't have to fire them and go find others, doesn't have to spend a tremendous amount of time doing something they don't want to do, which is education. They've got a partner that can work with them. It's not degree seeking. It's not credit bearing.
Yeah.
There's no grade. So let's say 50 people in the IT department at a company need to scale up. The final project developed by the employer is these employees working on that project.
Right, but the individual also wants some recognition for that, right? They want to be able to travel with that, like, hey, look, this certificate I have. So how do you reconcile that?
We've been taking that and for lack of a better term, badging it and creating certificates. Now, sometimes employers want a white label, meaning they want to say something like the Edward Jones certificate, like that's fine with us.
Right.
Sometimes they don't, and then we, for lack of a better term, we put a package around it, and then we say to the employee, look, you want to come to Maryville and get a cybersecurity degree, we'll count that as life experience credit for sure, and
Right.
towards that degree. If you want to go to another institution, we'll basically validate that as a university for if you wanted to go to a school down the street. It's sort of flipping the script.
Yeah,
right?
the employers start becoming a little more primary. I mean, does that? I mean, I
Well,
guess if you don't evolve, they become a threat, right? Like,
Well, the employer becomes the customer. Here's how it works. And by the way, this goes back to our conversation before. They buy subscriptions.
yeah,
So, for example, we have a company in town, a large company, that foresees themselves having to train up about 500 employees in a couple of areas over the next 5 years. They purchased 500 subscriptions. Now, they don't have 500 people right now. They might have 50, but they
Sure.
see that they're going to be doing this on a consistent basis. And that's where that subscription model comes in. So think of this. Employers would give an employee, say, up to $7,000 towards tuition remission. Pick the school, pick what you want to study,
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah,
Sometimes it was a good investment, sometimes not. Now employers are purchasing 500 subscriptions over a 5-year period, between $500 and $1,000 a subscription. A much better cost-effective investment for the employer, much more targeted in the skill development to help them, and also very beneficial to the employee.
right.
So it's better, it's smarter, it's more effective, and certainly more cost-effective.
Do you see a day? I mean, go out 10 years. We're seeing some trends. We sell heavily in the skilled trades, service companies, et cetera, and they've basically made the argument to high school graduates like, hey, start earning today, and you can learn as you go, right? You're going to earn and learn. Don't go away. I mean, in 10 years, do we see the enrollment numbers look different because it's subscription? Like, what are the numbers?
Well, 57% of everyone studying at a college today is over the age of 25. So really, we're already there.
Yeah, we are
okay?
there, yeah.
The idea that 18 to 22-year-old they make up the bulk of the college population because that's who you see in the stands cheering
Sure.
at football games
Right,
and
right,
whatnot.
right.
But the reality is that the majority of people in higher ed are working adults. And here's the interesting part. I'm so sick and tired of reading about, the demographics of high school. It's declining. We're about to enter a golden age of education. There are 46 million Americans right now, working Americans, with college credit but no degree. They either have to get education for a degree or they've got to skill up or do both.
yeah.
The reality is the market for education is exploding and expanding. If we take the blinders off and think that it's all about recruiting 17 and 18-year-olds and realize there's a whole population out there that is going to have to develop and learn new skills and educational elements to continue to move through their career or the other careers that they're going to be choosing.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. One thing I've seen, and I've seen it with some of my friends who are parents now, of kids just about to enter college, and hopefully they won't watch this because I'm going to mildly insult them. It feels a little bit like sometimes they're chasing a status, like, oh, my daughter Sally's going to XYZ university, and it feels more like, hey, we just bought a BMW. It doesn't quite feel like we're doing this because it's absolutely the best education for our daughter.
I'm not going to blame the parents or blame the students. I'm going to blame higher ed. We've spent the last 120, 150 years creating what essentially is an elitist model. And we know that because all the schools that are ranked highest in whatever rankings you look at are the ones that let the least amount of students in. Now think about that. In order to be the best,
Right.
You've got to deny more students to come in. It is the epitome of an exclusion model.
Right.
And then it creates all this status around it.
Yeah.
And if you're telling me that the best place to go, the best restaurant, the best university, is the place that you can't get into.
Right.
I don't know about you, but as a working class guy from the East Coast, I find it insulting.
Yeah.
And also, I find it ridiculous because think of all the talent that is closed out because of that, and the elements of race and gender and all those other elements that are in existence underneath the surface. The future of higher ed is an access opportunity model. It's the reverse of that. It's everyone that you can think of has talents and abilities. They may be aware of them, they may not be aware of them.
Right.
Our job is to help them find out what they are and empower them. Some of them are going to get a degree. Some of them are going to get a certificate. Some of them are going to engage in lifelong skill development. There are multiple platforms or pathways for them to go. And the idea that there's only one pathway is crazy.
Right, right. I mean, with the success you're having, and if you were a football coach, you'd be recruited to, run one of the bigger programs. And you've been there since 2007, right? Like, do you have to, you say, I've got a vision, we're going to take Maryville to the next level? Is it, what you personally, what are your goals?
Well, I'm old enough and I've made enough mistakes in my life to know that when you find the right place, you never take it for granted. And I love Maryville University, but I was blessed. I came to a university that was a good, solid, quality university, but it didn't yet see what it could be. And then we had a bunch of people there who had various pieces of this vision in their minds or in what they were doing, faculty and staff, and then we brought some other people together. But the most important thing is, Maryville University is a place where the silos had never gotten that big. And so as a result, I didn't have, this huge $100 million donor who refused or this or that. And I had a board of trustees who were largely in the business world, where their businesses were revolutionizing at the same time. And they might not have understood all the educational elements we've been talking about, but they understood the need to adapt to the digital revolution of this century. So it became this wonderfully element. I think of it like a mosaic, right?
Yeah.
All these different pieces, we were able to put them together in a way, and now the sky's the limit. So this is my last job.
Yeah, okay. And to disrupt something like that, like a institution, literal institution that's been so anchored, it's hard to do. So you need that support. You wrote a book, Pivot, a vision for a new university. You used the word pivot, which is really interesting. Pivot is the term they often use with technology companies, right? This model's not exactly working, let's pivot. Obviously that was deliberate. Tell me about that. Tell me about the book generally, but also about the title and what.
Well, it was a collaboration with Joanne Soliday, who's a great educator who was a very successful helping build Elon University, for example, among others. What we both we've been coming to this conclusion for a while in working together, was there's a revolution in education, the business model, the education, all the things we've been talking about. It's got to happen. If it doesn't happen, higher ed will collapse as an industry. But nobody wants that to happen. Nobody wants to turn over education to the Googles and Amazons of the world. As they say, their tender mercies, if you will. So we said, look, higher education can remake itself and be even more vibrant and more important than ever, but it's got to pivot. And so when we started talking about doing the book, I said, look, because Joanne had consulted with us, whatever, and she always said, it always feels like when I'm at Maryville, I'm at a startup tech company and everything. And so we started thinking about titles, and we said, this is about a pivot, and we want to give universities, particularly leaders, a pathway or pathways to make that pivot. And that's why we talk about I call the false narrative around consensus. The idea that if you're going to do something in higher ed, first you got to get everybody to agree.
Right.
This is America. Everybody doesn't agree about anything.
You can't even buy a pizza with 6 people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And consensus has always been the way higher education thwarts change. So chasing consensus makes no sense. And we went through the principles of how do you get institutions to see things differently, pivot, and then make those changes. And there were some excellent examples with the case studies that were in there that Joanne oversaw. So I will be honest with you, though, there were a lot of things that I wanted to say in there that they wouldn't Joanne wouldn't let me.
Right.
She's a much more diplomatic.
There's a hint of consensus, attention. You want to make sure you're not too far. At Interplay, our worldview is anchored around better careers, better lives. And that's why we show up every day. And education, we skip education in that statement. What are we doing wrong, and where do you guys fit in that vision of better careers, better lives?
Well, I can say this because I was a faculty member for a good 15, 16 years before I went into administration, or as they say, I went to the dark side of the force. Let's for sake of argument, self-evident, right? Education is an inherent good. There are very few people that would argue it isn't. But what happens with educators over time, decades really, is their focus becomes insular on their discipline, their program, their college, their own stuff. And they start to, and it's a slow drip, drip, drip kind of thing, they start to think about the delivery of education in terms of what they know and what they're delivering to students, with the idea that if I deliver to you what I know, somehow down the road your life's going to be better. That may very well be true. There may be some truth to that, but that's not the primary purpose of education. The primary purpose of education is to empower people in their careers and in their lives. Empowering people means skills and abilities. And so if I start with, I believe in liberal arts education, I do. But I don't believe that's where you start. I think you start with skills and abilities and they weave in the liberal arts dimensions of that rather than the other way around. What Maryville's done very effectively is to put the right balance on those two elements, I think, as opposed to all of one or all of the other.
Certainly a unique perspective, and really appreciate you joining us today. This has really been fascinating. Thanks, Mark.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Better careers, better lives.